I think we're gonna move to a world where uh, we can make the whole SDLC entirely autonomous, like production of code, testing, remediation in production, release process, and basically we'll all become product managers.
All righty. I'm here with Sam Alba. Sam, how are you?
Really good. Thanks for the invitation.
So it was about 18 months ago that you and I talked, and that was at KubeCon, and you were at Dagger. So now you're doing something new. What are you doing?
Yeah, so we are building Mendral, Mendral.com. What it means is we were interested about the idea of mending, and
Mhm.
basically fixing stuff. And so we are fixing software delivery, but more generally, we are automating software delivery at a pace that can keep up with AI agents. So basically, we help people shipping code faster and in a more secure way. So we have an AI DevOps engineer that joins your CI/CD and your entire software delivery and starts working for you in the background. So spots of opportunities for fixing your pipelines, accelerating your tests, improving your CI/CD infrastructure, connecting to various sources of data like infrastructure services to remediate problems. And lately, we saw more and more successes with security. There is a
Mm.
higher demand in terms of security. You probably heard of some recent supply chain attacks.
Mhm.
And so our agency is remediating security problems as well.
So to get to Mendral, what's the problem you're trying to solve, and how did you find this problem?
Really, what triggered this idea of Mendral was the emergence of coding agents. So CI was always a bottleneck, CI/CD was always a bottleneck, and companies build their internal platforms so developers internally can ship their software and have their internal development platform. The problem with AI is that this platform needs to change entirely. We need to redo our software factory. Basically, the software that ships the software.
Mhm.
We need to redo it entirely because the pace at which we ship software and build software changed dramatically in the last 12 months, I'd say.
Mhm.
And so we were building Dagger to make software delivery programmable.
Mhm.
And Dagger is still around, by the way. I invite people to check it out. It works pretty well. And what we realized was with one of my co-founder Andrea is that while building Dagger is that AI was going to change the game entirely, and it was already happening.
Mhm.
And sometimes companies don't have the the time to rethink about their software delivery and rebuild it. It's basically breaking. It's breaking like
Right.
never before. And the problem is, on one side, it's a part of the infrastructure that's not, when you invest time on it, you're not actually working on your software because you're building the software that ships your software. So it's not exactly the kind of thing you never prioritize that basically, and
Right.
that's a problem we identified also with Dagger. And so we thought, well, now with AI, so on one side, AI is creating this problem, it's accelerating this problem of software delivery being a bottleneck. But on the other side, now we have the models and the tools to automate certain things that we could not automate before. So now making an agent that can entirely replace a team of DevOps engineers is now possible. So on one side, AI is creating a problem, but on the other side, is also giving us tools to create the solutions that comes with it. And so that's the idea behind Mendral, is to really, when you start onboarding on Mendral, you really hire a team of senior DevOps experts that start working for you and accelerate your software delivery, fix your problems for reliability, performance, and security.
You are at Y Combinator, and this is your second time through Y Combinator, and you're wearing your Y Combinator hoodie. So yes, they're proud. So if you could just talk about the process and how that's gone, just in general, and for you.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we have a long history with YC back from the .cloud days. So when I joined Docker as first engineer, the two founders of Docker, so Solomon Hykes and Sebastian Pyle were just uh, ending their YC batch in Simultan, and so
And that was about
I was
15 years ago. Does that sound right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I was always around YC, even when I joined the first when I joined the team initially, that became Docker a few years later. And so I was always kind of part of the YC community, and I had as a project to at some point go through the program myself as a founder, which I did in winter 19 with Andrea and then Solomon Hykes also. And really, YC was really transformative. We wanted to start YC with a working version of the product. And the thing we didn't know exactly was who's going to buy this product, how much people are going to pay for it. Because Mendral, we built it in a way that it can do a lot of things. It's really an agentic platform for DevOps. And the bad thing about powerful technologies that can do a lot of things is, okay, what do you do? What do you sell? It's confusing for the buyer. And so we spend a lot of time at YC figuring out our GTM strategy and who's the buyer, what's the problem, and focus really on people's problem, not focus on your solution.
Right.
Yeah, sure, Mendral can do a lot of things. It can automate your whole software delivery, but people were telling us, I have flaky tests. I have tests that are failing. How can you help? That's the kind of conversation we started to get early on. And
so you're getting feedback from, I saw that you had on your site, you had people to sign up to test and a beta test and get access to it. So has that been giving you a lot of feedback and helping you to pivot, or not pivot, but to change your direction or focus more?
Yeah, so the product didn't change much. The product just evolved, since during our YC batch. We just made it better. And what this feedback helped us doing was to prioritize. Really, when you start a company, you get excited about this direction, this vision, and there are like 1,000 possible directions for your company. And the best possible way to direct you towards the right direction is to focus on people willing to pay for your product. As simple as that. It sounds really simple, but at some point we onboarded several teams. As the teams got bigger, they were paying more. And we were just
so you were at this point, you actually were charging for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we started to onboard our first paying customers in mid-January. Basically, and so we are now early April, and so yeah, we started to we have over 25 teams in production, and paying customers, and so yeah, it's that's also a different strategy. Is we are building a commercial product. People pay for it because also it costs us some money to run the it's an agent, so it consumes tokens and talks to LLMs. And we're maintaining the infrastructure to ingest a large amount of data. So our agent is smart because it has access to a lot of data and it's learning over time. And so all of that costs money and people pay for it because it matters to them. We unblock a lot of their pain, and we solve a lot of their pain, and we just accelerate them. And so yeah. And so in terms of prioritization and where YC helps, it really helps with this focus early on. YC was really helpful. Their advice, we have office hours with our partners, we have group office hours with other companies that are exactly in the same stage than you. I found really interesting to hear people struggle with their own problems on other product categories. We were like grouped with companies in different fields. There was a legal company, for instance, in our group office hour, and it's very interesting because
this is a subgroup within YC, or are you talking about the larger group?
No, it's within YC. It's basically part of the YC program. And what was very interesting is you realize that at this stage, the product doesn't matter that much. Like, you're an expert of your product, you know what the product should do, but when it goes to go to market, everyone is struggling with the same thing. Like, should my pricing be public? How do you acquire new customers? How do you keep them? How do you prioritize what they ask for? All of those things are universals to all companies starting and doing this 0 to 1 stage. And so that was very, very interesting for us to not feel alone and also exchange ideas with other companies. So that's one of the things. And then I'd say,
was there an internal Slack channel for
yes.
YC ideas, and there's sub channels for
Exactly.
go to market message, for technical stuff, and
exactly, that's exactly right. For engineering, for legal, for product, for anything actually. And this Slack workspace actually remains open after the batch. So what's important to keep in mind is YC is a community and a platform for startups, and it doesn't end with the batch. The batch is really like a launch pad. It launches you.
Right.
And then you continue on that trajectory. That's the game. That's really important. But YC remains available for the duration for the life of your startup, really. And so I think, especially during the batch of the 3 months, what's very important is what was very useful for us too was the visibility. Like, you have a lot of people following YC. So when you launch, there are a couple of ways. So YC pushes you to launch your product very early. And usually when you don't do YC, if you ask a founder why you haven't launched, people will tell you, oh, it's not ready yet, we need to build this or that. And YC is like,
feature creep, and yeah.
Exactly. And YC is like, well, as soon as your product can be useful for one person, like anything, like anything, even if your product is broken, but someone's like, yeah, actually, I need that and I'm willing to pay for it, you should launch. And so
it poses discipline on you and structure.
Exactly. And pressure too, like pressure in terms of timing, because we live in a world where everything is going so fast. There are so many startups out there, and projects and big companies are announcing all the time. And so it's a very noisy environment, and you need to test the water as early as possible. Basically, you shouldn't wait. There is no good reason for waiting. And so, YC was really helpful for pushing us towards this direction really early on.
So what was it that you delivered? It was just a couple of weeks ago, right? At the end of March. So does everyone do a presentation, or what was that?
Oh, that's right. So at the end of the batch, there is what we call demo day. So YC demo day is the time where you have 1 minute to pitch your company to.
Wow.
I don't know how many investors, actually. There are hundreds of investors. And
angel investors, venture capitalists, all sorts of things.
Both, actually. Yeah, both. Mostly investment firms, and the idea is you spend a batch to launch your product, and that's kind of the recipe by the book. You start. Most companies start YC without having without fundraising. So they get a small investment. We had some funds already before YC, so we were a bit special, but doesn't matter. The same thing applies.
Does YC give you any kind of seed funding, or just a certain amount?
Yeah, it's public. They give you 500K basically. So yeah, that's what you get at the beginning of the batch. So in case you haven't raised any money before, it's basically enough to go through the batch. And so the idea is you launch your product, you get people to pay for it, you start some motion, some momentum on your traction, and then at the end of the batch, you have an opportunity to pitch that idea, share what you achieved in the last few months with investors, and this is when you can raise your seed or pre-seed, or there is no rules for raising money, but YC helps you based on your traction to calibrate the terms, for instance. And then really what YC helps you with is without YC, you have to take your product and your plan and your deck and go pitch to VCs. Right. With YC, you get VCs coming to you.
Come to you. That's pretty good. So with yourself, have you already? So you pitched, and then do you start dialogue with different firms or people who then say, "Hey, I liked what I saw. Can we talk?"
Yeah, exactly. And so investors want to usually talk to you as early as possible during your batch. YC recommends you to push this conversation back to the end of the batch. And so you can really focus on the whole time of YC on working on your product, your traction, your customers. And then at the end of the batch, you can really spend 1 or 2 weeks to really focus on fundraising. It goes fast depending on your company. For some people, it takes few weeks. For some people, it takes few days. For us, we were lucky that it took only a few days.
Can you say who's investing, or is that not public yet?
It's not public yet, but we're going to announce it really soon. I think in the next 2 weeks, we're going to announce it, like the seed round and who's in it. There is no big secret. Just we'll announce everything at once. But we're really happy with how it went. We got, I think we were able to raise without YC, but it's true that I think YC was really helpful in helping us to get the focus to do the right thing, basically, to make people pay for the right thing, and focus also on the products, on the right thing for those people who need your product, and then pick your investors at the end. And that's it.
Probably better terms too, right? If you come through Y Combinator, gives you a certain level of credibility, so the deals that you can structure when you do get into partnerships, say with the VC or others, I'm assuming you can get a little bit more on your side.
For sure, yeah. I mean, that I was certainly feeling that way. There is momentum, and then it's not the end game, right? Like the seed stage is really, I mean, as the name implies, is to plant a seed and go from there. So now the challenge is, okay, we have money, we have traction, we have some customers, but now what, right? And so we have a vision and a plan that goes a lot beyond what we're selling today to those customers, and we need to execute on it, and we need to keep the momentum and be ready for the next phase. And so the next phase is usually a Series A, and so basically be ready to accelerate the business and go to market post Series A. So that's really our next phase, is to be ready for that. So that we know there are a lot of things we want to do in the next few months, and but we're moving pretty fast. Like, oftentimes people tell you will go at very high speed during YC, and the challenge is to keep that speed after the YC batch. And that's how I feel. And so far, like, it's been a bit over a week since we completed the batch, and I'm pretty happy with the pace. And I really, now I'm convinced that YC gave us the framework to be in that mode, in that founder mode from now. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to be able to keep the pace for the next months and years. So that's great. It's useful. It's very useful from that angle.
That's very cool. So just back to the product, as you talked about, you see these trends. You started in September. So much has happened in the space of AI, right? It's always, just for example, the whole thing with OpenClaw, and then everybody else's OpenNemo at NVIDIA. Oh, yeah, I think that's what it is. Not Nemo. What is it? I can't remember. But anyway, each company now is doing their own version of it.
Yes.
And so just one example of how things are changing. So how have you been keeping your focus, but at the same time making sure that you're adapting to the market?
Yeah, so a lot of stuff. So I'd say the first thing that really happened was the models got a lot better actually in the last few months.
Mhm.
So we talk about this date of December 2025 that really solved software programming. I kind of yeah actually that we're in a good shape to actually solve software development. I don't think it's replacing software developers. I think it really accelerates the software developers, and I can see that for us. Like, it's not because we have very powerful AI coding agents that we are not looking for software engineers anymore. We actually do hire. We look for more people. It's just that now with a team of 5, you can have the output of a team of 20. So the game is really changing. Like, I've been hiring teams for many years. I scaled the engineering team at Docker before. I then hired and formed the new team at Dagger. And now with AI, I'm thinking, all right, everything's changing again. Like, we're not looking for the same profiles anymore. We're looking for people who can really adopt and use those AI tools the right way, and like we do today. And so you mentioned OpenClaw. There are many other examples. Cursor got better. Cloud Code got a lot better. Cloud Code is now leveraging Opus for 4.6, which was also a big game changer for software development. And so there are I think agents got a lot better. Models got better, agents got better, and OpenClaw is an agent. So it's what we usually call an agent harness. Where it's changing the game is in terms of autonomy. We've realized that models can do a lot more when they have the right harness, so the right tools, and they have some level of autonomy. So some sort of a loop that can be autonomous and can evolve based on without human interactions. Actually, that's the big game changer. And so that way you can implement complex development plans in a full autonomous way. So that's really a game changer. So on one side, it changed software development entirely. On the other side, you still need to ship this code. And so the problem,
and that's where Mendral comes in.
Exactly. And so we had a lot of we made a lot of assumptions when we formed this company in September last year. And what's very interesting is a lot of those assumptions proved to be true a few months later, but in a very small amount of time. Like, we got companies saying, initial. I mean, while I was building Dagger, I was talking to companies all the time. They were all complaining about their CI, but it was kind of a problem that was never prioritized. Oh yeah, the CI is slow, the CI is broken, we need to work on it. We have a plan for that. And that plan usually span across many years.
It worked on my laptop. Now you guys go make it, you guys go make sure that it scales and goes into production.
Exactly. And without with agents, people are going to struggle because this bottleneck that's never a priority is now receiving inputs from humans still, but agents. And that making it worse, because the amount of code that each engineer can output is at least 10x in some of these companies. And so the problem that was an inconvenience is now a critical problem. Like, people, teams are blocked entirely. And so yeah, when they hire Mendral, Mendral works in the background and say, hey, I'm gonna fix this thing. You have a problem there. Hey, you broke the CI on that place. Hey, you have a CVE that's gonna break your production. Let me fix it. And so then you get an agent that works for you in the background, and so you can push more code. And we started talking to some small teams that now have the output of a team of 50 people, and they are less than 10. So it's very interesting to see from our side how software development is being revolutionized entirely. And people now, it's not a luxury anymore to automate your software delivery. It's a mandatory thing. It's needed. It's strongly needed. And so this is where we help. And yeah, it's very interesting. And I think things like OpenClaw, it's yet another tool on top of the rest all of those coding agents participate in producing more code, basically. And so that code still need to be shipped and be secure.
So yeah, so you talk about limiting factors, right? The CI being one of them. What about testing and making sure that you have a one person called it viable code as a viable coding as opposed to vibe coding, making sure what you, because I think the question I would have is scalability, because what I hear is stories more of small teams working, using agents and using AI to code. But then how does that work to take that into a large, say if you're a larger organization, to put it in production where you've got other things that may be the bottleneck? So I guess the question would be about scale and what other things, obviously you've identified the CI as a big place of sticking. What else might be stopping from it achieving what it can?
Well, it's, on one side, coding agents are creating more problems because the just everything is going faster, and so the even if the code is a high quality, and I think it is for most of the cases, the coding agents produce great code nowadays if you use the tools the right way. But even if you produce great code, you still need to test it, exactly like you said. So you need to maintain, basically all the problems are still the same. They are just,
they're magnified because all the code is building up in the background.
They are magnified. That's exactly right. And so now my point is we know what to do. We know the solution. It just, we need to implement those solutions. It's not optional anymore. Some of the solutions used to be nice to have. Like, for instance, if you have a very large test pipeline and it's struggling with the scale, you should implement a sharding strategy. You should implement parallelization. You should implement caching. So you can, it's not uncommon to see, with some optimization, to see large testing pipelines to go from taking an hour to taking 5 minutes. We saw that at Dagger, and it's really something that can be done with the right way. And so now the question is, it's not optional, it's not nice anymore to do that. It's actually a must-have. So that's really the problem. And what's interesting is, while it requires some expertise to do that, because it's like everything, right? You have many jobs and many specializations in software development. DevOps engineering is one of them, and we have the experience doing it. From the Docker days, we pretty much spent like 15 years in infrastructure and software delivery and DevOps engineering, and so we know what to do. And today we basically encode this expertise in our agents, so our agent can produce more work than we do. Like, we cannot, for instance, with our team, we cannot be contractor and do freelancing for all of those companies. We don't have the time, and we also sleep at night, unfortunately. And so our agent doesn't need to, right? Our agent can do what we would do as human being, but doesn't sleep, and also cost much less. And so that's really what the agent is doing. And what's interesting is, so that's one side, is like accelerating the solutions that we problems that are the same, and solutions that are the same. On the other side, I think there are more patterns and best practices to put in place that were not needed before, because now you have more code. And so for instance, implementing a caching strategy or parallelization on your test pipelines was something that was always needed for bigger companies at a bigger scale. Nowadays, we actually need the same thing. And so that requires adapting your CI infrastructure a lot faster than what companies used to do. And for the teams who don't do that, unfortunately, they will struggle even more later on, because they will ship code that's not reliable, not well tested, not secure, and that's going to be a disaster for some of those companies. And so that
I was just going to say, you mentioned security. That was something I was going to ask. Security and governance. Those seem to be
for sure. Yeah.
two big areas. So how are you working to make sure that that doesn't become the other blocker, right? So you've got tons of code, now the CI is fixed, and then how are you gonna make sure it's secure and that the governance is in place?
So first of all, our product looks at every single code change, every single CI event. Every time there is a run, there is something in the logs that should be remediated or looked at. Usually human beings don't do that. Like they triage and they look at the most important thing. Our agent looks at everything. So that basically gives us the ability to do a lot more and be more proactive. And then, so that's the part that reacts based on what changes. And then there is the other part that is more proactive, which is looking at the data in production and external sources of data, like CVEs, for instance, and security reports, security alerts, and detect what should be done before it becomes a problem. And so that's the part about being more proactive. And even when you're proactive, you always have to do something at the software delivery level. We don't do hot fixes in production, for instance. I know some agents are focused on that. We don't do that. We actually look at several sources of data, CI being one of them. But we also, for instance, started to integrate with Sentry logs, logs from your Kubernetes cluster and the rest of your infrastructure, and your logs from your Google Cloud accounts, and basically trying to anticipate the problems that you may have to actually open pull requests and warn the team at the software delivery level. And that's very important. You mentioned compliance and security. They actually come together, because compliance is a lot about, or at least a big part of compliance is a lot about staying secure. If you think about SOC 2, for instance, there is a big part of SOC 2 that's all about security. And it's not about being compliant once, it's about being compliant continuously. And so that matters a lot for compliance, but also staying secure, right? There is a reason why you should be compliant, is to stay secure and avoid really bad problems in production.
So are there security integrations that you have that work? There are partners that you recommend, or how do you fit in when you talk about the entire DevOps pipeline and work tool chain?
Yeah, so the first of all, to explain a bit what we do, so we built a fairly big data layer. So we ingest a lot of data on our platform. So we ingest CI logs, we ingest various type of data. We even the activity of the agent in the past is a source of data. So we constantly look at what we did in the past, which is kind of a living memory, so the agent gets better over time. To give you an idea, like one of our early customer post-hoc, they push like 1.5 billion lines of logs per week. Wow. And so that's just one week. And that's the kind of data that we manage. Based on this data, then the second thing is, how do you make this data available to the agent at a given time? Because you cannot push 1 billion lines of logs to an LLM and hope for the best. Right. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
At least not yet. Maybe someday.
Maybe, yeah. And so there is like a lot of engineering that we put in the harness, and how we give the ability to the agents to pull the right data at a given time, so it can run like very deep and very complex investigations from various sources of data, and at a given time pick the right amount of data from the data layer. And then on top of that, we build specialists. So when a customer on board on Mendral, it feels like an agent. It's actually several agents. So we have a security specialist, we have a reliability specialist, we have a performance specialist, and every one of them is a very focused agent with a very focused set of tools, with a very specific mission. And they all get triggered at different times. Some of them get triggered, based on events on your software delivery, like code change, a test failing. But some of them also get triggered doing continuous audit. From time to time, the security one, for instance, is a good one because you cannot remediate security problems by just looking at what changes on the code. Of course, it's important, but it's not the only thing. CVs come from anywhere. Security reports like zero-day vulnerabilities, they come from anywhere, anytime. And so you need to plug yourself to other sources of data so you can remediate those at the code level and be able to warn the team, hey, there is a new security vulnerability, and by the way, here is a fix. And you should implement it as soon as possible. We started getting teams actually asking us to automatically change the code for them. Because I think we are reaching the level of confidence with our agents that we can finally move a step up in terms of automation. And that's very interesting because I think that's a game changer. For instance, we just released this week the ability to automatically open PRs when the confidence level of the agent is high enough, which is nice. And people like it, they were asking for it. We were just waiting for the confidence, the way we measure the confidence of the agent to be reliable enough and the overall agent to be reliable enough. I think we're there now. But now the next step is to actually change the code for you and possibly catch releases for you of your code. So let's say,
who reviews the pull request? Did you have an agent that's the pull request reviewer?
Yeah. So you have at least two type of reviews. You have the ones from agents that are very important. And nowadays, actually, AI code reviews are almost a must-have. I don't see a lot of teams without one. We do have one actually. With I mentioned those specialists. We actually built a code reviewer. It's not exactly something we want to specialize into because they are really great code reviews companies. But we have the ability to not only review the code, but link the code change to the rest of the context that we have. And so when we released a preview of our code review, a lot of companies said, oh, actually, your code reviews are more useful. So we would like to remove all of them and use Mendral for all of that as well. And so that's why we kept it. But I see a lot of companies using other AI review products. And so that's one. The second one is humans. So really, AI code reviews don't replace humans. Sometimes they do. We see companies actually trusting the AI code review more than anything else. And sometimes they're like, okay, the agent said it's fine, I'm going to merge. But I always recommend every team to look at the output of the AI code review and have a look yourself at yourself too as human being, because I think one rule is that I think is important to follow is, despite using AI to generate your code, you still own your code. I think we're going to move to a world where we can make the whole software delivery, like the whole SDLC, entirely autonomous, like production of code, testing, remediation in production, release process, and basically you'll have a team of we'll all become product managers, pushing spec down the line. But I think we're not there yet, definitely. And even if we are there at some point, you still need to own the chain. You need to understand it in a way that you can influence or take over at one part of the chain. So that's why to answer the question, agents review and humans as well, but it's more and more agents for sure.
Yeah, and I want to get to that in just a second, about where you see developers and the whole team evolving. But if you just had to sort of encapsulate from a different angle, what stops AI projects from going from POC to production, in your point of view?
Well, not much. I mean, it's you mean in a full autonomous way without humans?
No, I like things. This is back to that. Is it like authentication? Is it authorization? What would be
Oh,
so if I'm a small team and I'm putting this together, once again, what is the main reason with the customers you talk up to that that they struggle with? Would it be what you're talking about here as far as the CI, or is there other things, just in a sort of in a nutshell?
well, they all have some AI involved now. I think most companies, so we started to talk to even bigger companies. My first assumption was AI adoption is going to go much faster with small teams, and then it's going to take a few more years for big companies to adopt AI. I was wrong, actually, and that's a good thing that I was wrong, because now we're actually already talking after a few months. We launched a few months ago, and we're already talking with the very large enterprise, and they actually have the exact same problem than the small ones. So it's very, very interesting to see, and those problems are really around software delivery and accelerating. They are accelerating their production of code, and by accelerating their production of code, the problems that used to be simple problems and kind of nice to have. I mean, but inconvenience now it became critical, so for them too. And so what those problems are usually how to ship this code to production, how to get the level of confidence so you can put this code in front of your customers. And so if you're a small startup, for instance, because we also talk to very small teams who actually don't even have a CI and they don't even care, because they vibe code something, they put it in front of customers, and they don't care about anything else. So obviously, when we tell them, hey, we can help you build your software delivery, their question is, what is software delivery and why it's needed?
Right.
So usually, my guess is that most of those companies would either be successful and have the same issues, or die because they won't reach the first phase. So I think all of the teams have the same problems, and despite having AI and autonomous coding agent, there are some physics that don't change, which is it's great, you can write a lot of software, but at a given time, there is only one version of your code that goes to production. And so no matter what happens, you'll always need this integration loop that takes all of those changes, do some validation, and so you can release your software to production. And that is key. And that loop is getting much harder to get right with AI, because you need agents involved to make sure you can keep up with the pace of coding agents pushing code towards you. So yeah, that's definitely basically that is true for all companies. That's my point.
With bigger companies, though, you also have all the overhead, right? So you've got processes and software you need to integrate with. You need to change cultures in many ways. You need to have support for it. Whereas if you're a small company, you can do most of this yourself. You're very nimble. You don't have all of this. Have you run into that with the larger companies? Are they still looking at it in small tiger teams?
Yes, I saw some of that. Well, first of all, for us, they have procurement processes,
Yes,
that,
just right there. Right.
yes. Yeah, just right there. They're like, we showed demo. They're like, geez, we need that tomorrow. And then you get into a multi-weeks process with
We have to establish you as a vendor. We need to then get the terms. We need to
exactly. And so we're going through it. We actually completed the process with few of them. So yeah, it's interesting. What I think is interesting also is I talked to some of those big companies, and sometimes I don't know. So I had some experience in enterprise sales from Docker, but what's interesting is, and I remember this process was super slow, very, very, very slow, very, multi steps every time, different steps for each of them. This time, actually, I found it pretty easy, or easier than it used to be. So I'm wondering whether those companies got better at validating, at accelerating the process, or is it because they struggle so much with AI that they need to solve that problem yesterday, and so
Right.
they are willing to bend the rules. And so I'm not totally sure which one. I'm not, but yeah, I was surprised actually to be able to unblock some of those procurement processes and some validations internally, some even some AI skeptics,
Mm-hmm.
to and actually go all the way and be able to complete the process in in a short amount of time, at least shorter than what I was expecting. So that's interesting too. But then in terms of how they work, I think sure they have different integrations. They ask us for different CI systems to support. They ask us to integrate with specific sources of data.
And
There
then how
is,
do you support in general if things go wrong or they have a question? Right now, there's two of you, right?
we are three now.
You're hiring one, or did you already hire one more?
Yeah. We have one person who joined us last week, and
50% in a week. That's crazy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. No, for sure, we need more help. But my point is, we rely a lot on our agent to get some help. So our agent is, well, as I explained, technically a team of agents helping them, with specialists. But we also rely heavily on our agents for support, for helping them.
Mm-hmm.
So we see teams asking Mendral every day about, hey, why this is broken, why this is blah blah blah, and so I was discussing with Andrea, my co-founder, the other day, and I was thinking, we actually don't need a docs. Like, our goal is to never have a docs page, because we want the agent to be the support level one and help them with onboarding, help them with.
And then it's evergreen, right? You're not thinking that the docs are out of date. It is learning, and the
Of course.
information there is right, always at your fingertips.
Yeah, exactly. And you see people are learning also pretty quickly, because it feels like you're talking to a person. So it's like when you hire someone, do you need a docs or manual to know how to interact with that person?
Mhm.
Probably not. It's just like,
Some people might, but yes, usually you don't.
some. That's a good one. Yes, indeed. It would be nice in some cases.
Yes.
But with Mendral, we're building a nice person, and so
Good.
and so yeah. So far, like, it's very interesting to see how intuitive it is to interact with the agent, and I think ideally we don't need to have like a manual or docs. Like, the agent can actually, and you're right about the learning phase. The Mendral has also a memory about the conversations,
Mm-hmm.
and as with teams, and so each memory obviously is contained into each customer account, but for confidentiality and everything. But the it's interesting to see, like, sometimes you see conversations with people and they ask Mendral like it's a teammate, and Mendral remembers. It's like, oh yeah, actually, I saw this problem last week, and so here is a link. Like, do you want me to do something different?
So now I get to the part that I was threatening to get to, which is, and we said this in the beginning, which is you're talking about it. It will now be, Mendral will be a team of this many DevOps engineers. So as we go forward, the role of the developer is changing, and that's going to flow through the organization. And so, is this going to put DevOps engineers out of jobs? Are they going to then take on new responsibilities? What will it do to the platform team? How will DevOps itself change, and then how will that go through the business? So I realize that's a lot, but just sort of at a very high level,
No,
how do you think things will happen?
and we get this question a lot also during demos. So yeah, what happens for small teams is that I think by using an agent like Mendral, they won't have to hire a DevOps engineer too early, so they can probably delay that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that they will never have to hire someone or DevOps specialist. Our goal is to make sure that developers do not need, or teams of development do not need specialists over time. Like, ideally, you want developers to be able to do it all, like in the early days of a startup. So for the small teams, our goal, and we saw that happening already with some of those smaller companies, they actually have less needs for a DevOps engineer early on, because Mendral is taking care of pretty much everything they need on the software delivery. On the other side, for bigger teams, we have, for instance, we're interacting with a fairly large enterprise. It's their head of SRE who's like our point of contact and onboarding Mendral and using it every day and actually expanding it internally. We're not replacing that person. We're actually helping them. And we like to say that we augment those teams internally when they already have a well-established organization. And it's actually very important because I have experience talking with this team from the Dagger days and Docker. And what's interesting is when you talk to platform teams and DevOps teams, they always have a plan, a master plan to redo something. Like we're gonna migrate off Jenkins and we're gonna create an internal platform. So there is like a small YAML with 3 lines that each developer will need to complete to push their application and be totally self-serve internally. There is always this plan. Every big company has a plan like that, and it never happens. It more or less happens, but it never happens exactly. They never complete the plan, and the main reason for it is those resources and those teams constantly do firefighting on safety tests, slow pipelines, broken CI, security remediations, pretty much like everything.
It's the Mendral, right? This is the stuff that you address.
Exactly. And so the nice thing with Mendral is we want Mendral to do the boring work, the work that's taking pretty much 80% of their time usually. And it's and so doing their work so they can actually focus on that platform of the future, their plan, their initial plan that they can never spend time on. So if
I were a DevOps engineer and came to you today and said, Sam, I'm kind of worried of the future, what would you tell me? Learn more about this or focus more on that? Or what would you say?
Well, I say just go pay for Mendral right away. Like it's
yes,
great.
Of course, that's the solution. But other than that, how do I work with Mendral or what? So now that the boring stuff is going away, what should and the landscape is changing so quickly.
Yeah.
What should I be looking at?
So the boring way is, by the way, never disappear. The boring, the firefighting never disappears. So even if Mendral and a team of agents on Mendral take care of it, it will never disappear. So my point is, as soon as this works, you don't want to turn it off because it's new problems keep happening.
Right.
And so, but then to answer the question, how you interact with it, like just assume it's a DevOps engineer joining your team, and with the capability of working night and day, never taking time off, and doing anything you will ask it to do. And the nice thing is when you start onboarding, you don't have to ask anything. It just starts doing work and look for opportunities to do work. Usually what we see happening is as soon as people are confident to have some level of confidence in the agent, and the agent is producing work constantly for those teams, they start asking us for customization. They start asking us for, hey, I would like Mendral to do this or do that instead. And so they can ask the agent directly, but they want some level of automation where technically what they ask is they want to build their own agent on top of Mendral because there is all of this context that's constantly up to date, and they want to build their own specialist on top of Mendral. Let's say they have some data in their ticket tracker internally, or they have these sources of this infrastructure service right there that they constantly have to review manually, or some dashboards that they have to review manually, and they would like Mendral to do that as well, because it has the rest of the context. And so
do you become a platform then? Is that sort of the idea that people will start building on top of?
Yeah, so exactly. So what we're working on right now to move them to the next phase as soon as they are confident in the agent is have the ability to build their own agent on top of Mendral, and so that way they can, I mentioned that it's a team of specialists working on that data layer. The idea is you will soon be able to add your own specialist. And why it's important that it's your own specialist is because this is a specialized agent that's specialized on your data, on your own, your way of doing work in your company. It's a specialist that we cannot build for all customers because
Right.
it's so specific to you. And so we want people to have this level of customization because they need it, right? It's like if you hire someone and you start training that person on your internal processes, and at some point you give a specific mission to that person. The problem is that person will be only focused on that mission because of the capacity, right? And so yeah, it could be yet another agent on top of Mendral that you control and that you define.
So that leads me to my final question is, where is Mandrill going? So if I today said, hey, Sam, I got a check here for $5 million, how would you spend it, or what areas are you looking at? What's next? And where would you hope to be in a year?
So next, I think the software delivery is going to change entirely. And so right now, I think we accelerate people with the existing software delivery tools. But tomorrow we need to redo the entire software delivery. I'll give you one example. You probably have heard of the recent complaints and critiques on GitHub. GitHub is still this big hub of everything, actually, information for shipping your code, right? It became almost a protocol over time. Like people are replacing the GitHub runner, people are replacing the ticket tracker, or implementing like a GitHub Actions interface on some other tools. And so I think clearly there is a need in the markets to redo the software delivery and to not only accelerate what we already have, but reinvent software delivery in such a way that's more adapted to agents. Another example is think about the pull request, the code review process on a pull request or a merge request. This process has been designed for humans. You have ways to put emojis, comments, everything. Now you see most of the time, 90% of those features are being used by agents. Agents don't need a web interface. And so I think we need to rethink about how we ship the code and probably do less on the CI, do less on a centralized way, because now we can automate software development with agents that we trust, that are more reliable. In some ways, we can do a lot more before it lands on the CI. I think we still need the CI, we still need this integration loop, but we need to make it more efficient and probably with different tools. So yeah, the next phase will be to reinvent, to propose an alternative to this software delivery as it currently is. And there is, exactly like platform teams internally having this project to redo an internal platform. I think with a team of senior DevOps engineer working for you, or we have the right resources to rebuild that platform for you, and to do that for not only one company but all of our customers.
And to do it not just for the small teams who are starting out greenfield and so don't have to worry about it, but then there's the other ones, as you're saying, you're talking to now, bigger companies that have established processes and how things are going to have to change for them.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the next phase, but to do that, we need to reach a certain level of confidence among those customers and teams, so they can then trust Mendral to do the next phase actually, and redesign and rebuild the software delivery. So yeah, that's there is a long way ahead of us, but looking at what we've been able to achieve in a few weeks, we are pretty confident that we can keep the pace and keep going fast. So yeah.
I think this is very cool, and I'll have to check in with you maybe 6 months, a year from now to see where things are going. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a pivot here or there, but I'm sure you guys will stay on top of it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Sam, Alba, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Take care.